Hi, welcome to Back-to-Business. I'm General Spalding and I'm here with Ramiro Parada, who's a husband, a father, and he's a serial entrepreneur. And I guarantee you're going to love this conversation because I've never met anybody that more represents, in my opinion, the American dream than you. And I'm just going to go right off and just talk about this amazing transformation that you did from, literally, I think you've just about run every type of business that's out there, but your business, particularly in the service area, servicing restaurants and nightclubs and owning nightclubs and really being out there with the public, you saw what was going on very early with the coronavirus and you said, this is not bad for me.
That's right.
This is an opportunity. So tell us about the story, about this, how you transformed who you were as an entrepreneur, at least at that time, and took advantage of whatever other people are suffering through.
Yes, General. Thank you for having me on your show. Yes, and that's exactly right. I pre-COVID, I have a full-service marketing printing company that services a lot of the restaurant industry, nightclub industry. You name it, any type of business. We do from graphic design, web design, apparel, to signage, to all kinds of different stuff like that. So we have the machinery to be able to route out signs and things like that. So I started getting a little bit concerned when I was studying the trend back in China when COVID started in China, and I was like, okay, well, it's not too bad. It's far away. So then started moving towards Europe, and when Italy shut down, then I was like, maybe it's gonna hit U.S. soil. So I decided to come up with a mechanism not to drown. Because I figure if the restaurant business or the people that I service was going to suffer, then my business was going to take a hit as well.
But you didn't do it small,
no,
right?
No.
You went all in.
Yes.
So who does that?
Yeah, well, I'm a risk taker. I've been an entrepreneur or self-employed, I would say, ever since I was 14 years old. I had to get creative, and yeah, I went and took a big chance on pretty much spent quite a bit of money of my savings, and I put my poker face and I went all in. I'm not the kind of guy that's gonna sit here and watch Netflix all day. I mean, I think we're gonna go into a shutdown and people are going to have to stay home.
So what made you decide to become a dentist?
So, always been medically inclined, but, as I finally worked with one dentist, I felt it was that perfect mix of a business and the medicine, and it made a lot of sense. So since then, that's kind of been the path that I've been taking, and, it does provide that balance that I wanted.
So you've been doing this since 1987?
No. My senior partner has been here, Craig Samaker, for that time. I graduated in 2000, and I've been here since. So going on the 20th year now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we moved to this facility about 3 years ago. We expanded to about 14 operatories, and trying to continue to serve Oakton.
So. The coronavirus, how has that impacted your business, and how, what are the things that you've done to kind of cope with, because there's a lot of evidence that there's decreased care for things like cancer and heart disease, and and there's a lot of emotional trauma associated with being kind of cooped up.
Yeah.
How has that kind of impacted your business and or your employees, and kind of what are the things that you've done or had to do to kind of make it work?
So it's definitely been, you know, a crazy 6 months. I mean, probably one like we've never experienced. I mean, when Corona first hit and, you know, that we were mandated to shut down by the governor, from a business perspective, we didn't know where things were going. I mean, we just didn't know, well, are we coming back? Are we going to be in business? You know, what to do? Things were really, really dicey. We did completely shut down for about 2 months.
Wow,
it was
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months, just 100% shut down. We were only seeing emergency treatment only. So Dr. Semenka and I were alternating days, you know, just literally having our phones live to capture emergencies, coming in, doing an hour or two of services as needed, and that was it. Obviously, you know, not knowing where things were going, the whole staff was furloughed. It was a touchy time. I mean, obviously no one knew what was next, you know, where income was going to be coming from. Unemployment wasn't really set at that point. But you know, we have an amazing staff. Everyone was kind of sitting on the sidelines, you know, waiting, you know, as time went about to what was coming next. Once the mandate was lifted and we were able to come back, you know, we slowly brought the staff back. You know, from a business perspective, it was difficult for us because we were caught in the middle of, you know, needing and wanting to come back to work, but not being sure, you know, from a safety perspective, you know, how we could set the stage. Now, as a dentist, we obviously already had, you know, some great precautions. Many more precautions were put into place, such as, you know, pre-screening patients and adding sneeze guards and taking temperatures and all things like that. So at the end of the day, we really felt like it's actually much safer here than to even be walking in a grocery store not knowing who's walking around you. So, you know, that was great, but it was still dicey being stuck between the patients feeling comfortable to come back and the staff feeling comfortable to come back. But, you know, as the weeks went on and we sort of proved to everyone that we're heading in the right direction with the right precautions, we were super, super lucky that we got, you know, 95% of our staff back. And eventually, you know, as the patients came in, they had a comfort level of what we were doing and what we implemented, and that it is a safe place, and they were getting good treatment. I think, you know, just to touch on the point that you said in the past, I mean, one of the issues that we were dealing with, you know, with the government mandate is that, you know, people don't understand that, you know, when you don't have access to certain, you know, health, you know, facilities and medical care, you probably let untreated disease go. And I mean, as a dentist, I mean, we see gum disease all the time. It's a silent disease. It affects your gums. You cause bone loss. But, you know, without the accessibility to dental care where you're getting checkups and evaluations, I mean, a lot of that stuff can just go rampant. So it was good to get back and start getting patients back for routine checkups and evaluate things like that and get people back on track.
So now, you know, where we're at today, you know, where are you at in terms of, are you back to normal, or is it still kind of slow because of, you know, this lingering kind of shutdown situation?
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think we're very unique in terms of, you know, our practice specifically. We're very blessed in terms of the staff that we have and the patients that we have and all the behind the scenes that we did during the downtime. That I would say that we're back to 95%. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I do talk to colleagues, I do talk to other dental practices. You know, some of the people that I'm interviewing for potential hire, they're telling me, well, I'm leaving my office because we're slow post-COVID. Mm-hmm. You know, patients aren't there.
Just not showing up.
Not showing up, you know, whether they never had, you know, things implemented in place, whether they just didn't have the infrastructure to get the patients back on the schedule, but the businesses are faltering. Mm-hmm. And it's sad because, I mean, you know, I often think, well, you know, as a young dentist, you know, I mean, I'm 20 years out, but as a young dentist, they're graduating with a couple of $100,000 in debt. You know, let's say they went and took a, you know, $250,000-$750,000 loan for a business, and then patients aren't coming in.
Yeah, that can be devastating.
I mean, you're done. You're
right.
done. So, so it's tough. I mean, he had mentioned earlier, you know, the 20% of businesses gone because of Corona. I mean, even in the dental world, I mean, we're just so blessed about where we are as a practice, but I mean, there's a lot of practices that aren't so lucky. So, but yeah, we're trying to do our part, and that's part of why, you know, feeling as blessed as we are, we're trying to do things like this and give back and, you know, be there for people.
And your shirt, by the way.
Yes, we're involved in Freedom Day, so this is our first annual involvement. This is something that we're doing to give back to our community. It's basically where we're offering services, dental services, to veterans that might not have accessibility to dental care. So, you know, we feel like with all the stuff going on, you know, some people have been forgotten in the middle of all this, whether it's, you know, just because of busyness or lack of access to care. And, you know, given the blessed situation that we're in, we wanted to donate a day where we tried to expose as much, you know, of what we're doing out to the public and different news organizations, and get it out there to get some veterans in here and try to give them some treatment and thank them for what they've done for us and the country and their service.
Well, bless you, and I think that's a wonderful thing, giving to the communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
When the coronavirus hit, there was no plan in place to deal with the economic devastation of shutting down the country. This was unheard of, unprecedented, and it turns out the PPP loans were so important to keeping these businesses alive. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, how it worked, how it didn't work. Looking forward to talking to the owner of Seshwar. So the PPP loan was designed to help small businesses continue to function and having the ability to pay their employees.
Sure.
Some businesses got PPP loans, I understand some did not. How did the process work for you?
So we really, of course, I mean, the first thing we thought about, you know, we do really need whatever money we can get to help us with whatever we can do for the business, any debt that is owed. So we did, you know, take some actions, and we applied for the PP loan. Unfortunately, we did not get it. I went directly to my banking institution with BB&T, which is the bank that I bank with, because that's who you're supposed to apply with, you know, initially. And then they declined me, and they never really honestly gave me the reason why. And then prior to declining me, I mean, the application was sitting in process for like almost over maybe like a month and a half, or maybe close to 2 months, without getting back to me or letting me know anything. And then I was given a call by other business owners that I know, that they said, you know, that there are other alternative routes of applying for the PP loan. And they gave me a couple of different other financial institutions to apply through them. And I tried to go that route as well. And I wasn't successful. I ended up getting a letter saying that we didn't qualify, which I didn't understand why we didn't qualify. And it said we didn't meet the guideline for, you know, for the PP loan. But, you know, we are a legitimate business. We pay our taxes. We do everything just like everyone else. We don't try to cut corners. And I just couldn't understand to why that, you know, we were not approved, even though the other people were getting that money. But at that point, I just have to give up on the idea and give up on trying, because the process is very lengthy and it requires a lot of things on your end to do. So I just kind of gave up on that, and I just kind of like, I prayed that something else will happen.
So other than the PPP loan, are there any other government policies that have helped you through the coronavirus?
Honestly, no.
And so how, you know, why, so like over 20% of small businesses have closed as a result of the coronavirus. How do you attribute the fact that you were able to stay open, and how important has that been for your employees?
The only thing that I think that helped me to continue to stay open is that there was like a good amount of month on hold of what we have to pay as far as our debt or our rent, which that helped out tremendously. So our landlord had gave us, you know, a really nice break, which allowed me to use whatever money that I have, or whatever money I was generating as we came back, to put it into something, into a better use, to continue, evolving the business and continue to get us more busy, as well as, other financial institutions that also, gave us a break where, they held off from collecting payment for like 90 days. So all of that time that I was able to buy from, these financial institutions or the landlord allow me to use whatever money that the business is generating to kind of put it back into the business by creating newer services that made people excited and want to come to us, or buying like an additional piece of equipment or a machine to offer an additional service that would also generate more money.
Now, what do you think? How do you think things are going now? What's your sense on, in terms of wearing masks all the time? And do you think we're at the right level? Do you think things need to open up more? Where do you stand in that kind of?
To be honest with you, the whole thing is really confusing. There's a lot of contradiction that happen between listening to the news, to listening to to government officials, to listening to doctors, and I don't know where the truth is because they're just contradicting information flying everywhere. So I don't know, and I'm not the expert on it, but all I can say, it just, there is a virus. It is true. It's not a made up. And, the only thing we can do is to continue doing the right thing to protect ourselves and to protect our client by wearing our mask and making sure you are covering your nose, you're covering your mouth. Because you also have like some people like, they have their whole own idea of how the mask need to be wore, which, is totally incorrect, where they are endangering themselves as well as they are endangering others. And just like, to continue doing the right thing, sanitizing, washing your hand, doing all the right thing until things are figured out, or maybe they come up with some kind of vaccination like they have been promising, or something will change. But I don't know. It's all in the hands of God. That's just the way I look at it.
What do your employees think? How, do they struggle having to wear the masks and dealing with extra cleaning, I'm sure, that's required?
My girls have to always make sure that they are, properly like wearing their masks. Some of them even have to wear a face shield because sometimes they are a lot closer to the client, so they do like the whole double protection. I even have some girls that they double mask, where they wear, two masks on top of each other. So we really try to do the right thing. As well as we invested a lot of money in buying all of these different like disposable, gowns to wear, disposable bed sheets, disposable pillow sheets, because we are a medical spa, so people have to come in sometimes, get the service, they have to lay down on a table, they have a pillow underneath them. So we didn't really cut any corners when it came to, bringing everything that is necessary to try to keep everyone protected.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Governor says tomorrow you got to close for another 2 months. What does that mean for Szechuar?
I mean, we are not a business that is known to break the law. We abide by the law. So if this is what we are being told and this is what we have to do, unfortunately, I do not make the decision. I don't run this country. So whatever is told, I just have to follow. So I have to close down.
So would you be able to weather that 2 months, or would that?
Absolutely not. I mean, there is no way. Absolutely not.
You're taking a big chance. You might lose everything. You're gonna get stuck with all these truckloads of plastic. But sure enough, I was in March, I guess, middle of March, that when school shut down. I actually have a son that battled cancer. Luckily enough, he's 9 years old now. He was diagnosed at 3 years old with leukemia. He was stage 4 cancer. So his immune system is compromised. So we actually stopped him going to school way before the government decided to shut down schools, because I said, this is not looking good. So I told my wife, we're not gonna send him to school. Go ahead and mark him absent, but I'd rather him being absent than sick. So sure enough, 2 days later, school shut down, sports shut down, everything shut down. So I made a quick video of the truckloads of plastic that I have, and
we're going to show the video.
yes. So that there's not that many companies in the area that supply plastic. All the sign companies kind of buy this type of product from the same suppliers.
And you bought it all.
I was really focusing on building a business. So it took me a little bit of time to come up with a name because I wasn't sure. The beginning of the business was just, let me do sneeze guards and put this plastic on a router and make sneeze guards for the check-in, check-out windows at grocery stores. And
yeah, they're all over. 7-Eleven, CVS, grocery stores.
Everywhere you go now, they have them. So when sign companies and other companies that have the possibility of doing this type of product started calling these companies, and they said, well, there's this company called
Ramiro bought it all.
Yeah, there's this company called PPE USA that bought all our supply till like end of we won't have anything until the end of the month. Who knows when we're gonna get some more in, because everybody started buying it, and I bought truckloads. And so yeah, I started producing prefabricated sneeze guards for check-in, check-out windows, doctors' offices, you name it. Every business needed it. Fortunately, my day business did not take a hit, because the same people that I service, they still needed the printing.
So you just took what is existing and then repurposed it for PPE.
Yes, so in my day business, which is printing and design and all that, all these companies that need a PPE, they also need social distancing graphics, floor graphics.
Right.
Curbside pickup signs.
So that's you. I get to thank you for all those signs on the ground.
Yes,
and sneeze shields.
A lot of the local area has ordered from me. Whoever had the time to order online, and but even one of the first industries that started really hurting was hair salons. Hair salons needed sneeze guards, shields, all kinds of different stuff. So dental offices, doctor offices, and to be honest, the medical industry, they also have certain suppliers that they go to for this type of stuff, and there was no supply. So if you're a dental office, you cannot open your practice without protecting your employee with an N95 or at least a KN95 and shields, especially hygienists. So somehow the word got around that there's this guy that has it.
So when you say day job, I think most people don't know what you're talking about. I've had a time to discuss it with you. So you didn't start out, working in signage and all of these things. You started out actually at night. Yes. And you were packing the house here at the age of 16 as the top DJ in the area. So tell us a little bit about that experience, and then also how that part your night job, how that's been impacted by the coronavirus.
So yeah, I've been in the event industry for a long time. We actually we ran a lot of weekly events, as well as we have one of the largest New Year's Eve events in the city for the past 8 years, voted by the Washingtonian magazine. And so it's we do 8 ballrooms till 8 o'clock in the morning at a 5-star hotel. So it's a lot of fun, but that business, of course, was going to take a hit, and it has.
It's completely shut down now,
yes,
right?
So yeah, we have no idea when that's going to reopen. It's there are certain areas that are opening to limited capacity. Mm-hmm. Social distancing. How are you going to go out dancing social distancing? Or how is
maybe instead of calling it a concert, you call it a peaceful protest.
Yeah, that could be
but,
a thing.
So, when I started kind of talking about this first episode about the coronavirus, I wanted to get into what did the government do right, what did it do wrong from a policy perspective in helping small businesses. Now, the PPP loan I thought was a very good program for giving money to small business owners in order to give their employees so they could keep that ecosystem alive. But now we've kind of run out of that money. But in kind of your night job, what are the people that were employed in that industry? What are they doing? And like if you were going to, other than you, I mean, clearly you saw very early how important coronavirus was going to impact everything that we did, and you made an opportunity out of a challenge. But there's a lot of business owners that didn't have that foresight, and they had a nightclub, they had a restaurant, they had a bar, and now they're either completely shut down in the case of a nightclub, or 50% capacity for a restaurant or a bar. So what's your sense of what the government's done right, what the government could do further, or is it just something that those are going to have to deal with the consequences as they are? What's your take on that?
Well, it's very unfortunate because I don't think anybody saw this coming to the point where, I mean, we thought, okay, we're gonna be quarantining for a month and everything will go back to normal, but it didn't happen that way. Of course, the PPP loan helped a lot of businesses to stay afloat. On the flip side, I was looking to employ sales reps and so forth, and all these people that didn't have jobs were getting $600 a week, so it was better for them to stay home and get the
So here you are trying to take advantage of the situation, and the government's nobody wanted to work.
Nobody wanted to work because they were probably making more money than they were doing at their regular job. So it was definitely a good incentive, because I don't think many of the businesses would have been able to survive without the PPP loan. So touchy subject.
And I think, let me rephrase the question, because like for instance, having ventilators, having a stockpile of PPE, having the ability to manufacture our own drugs, that's kind of something the government should be anticipating in terms of a pandemic. I think what I'm trying to get at is, what could we do better as a country in order to anticipate and prepare for the economic consequences of a pandemic in terms of providing assistance to small business owners and those employees. And certainly I've heard many times this idea that people don't want to come to work because they're getting so much unemployment benefits, and so there's a fine line there between destroying productivity and actually helping people through this crisis in a way that promotes our free market economy. So it's more not to cast blame, but more to say, if you had to go through this again, and you were a policymaker, what might some ideas be that you would, or some things to think about if from a small business owner to policymakers in terms of, because the next time this happens, we don't want to just be sitting there flat-footed. We should be kind of like you, thinking, okay, here's where the world's going, I'm going to get out in front of that. And that's what the government is really here to do. It's really to anticipate these kinds of crises. I did it in the military, right? We're taught to anticipate. So, in your mind, what are those types of things that we could get better prepared? Not on the medical side, because I think that's a different show. This is really about how can we get prepared for the economic impact and really be proactive and get small business out there running.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I strongly feel strongly about is I think social distancing and face masks do make a difference.
So you're basically saying that we should have implemented social distancing and masks a lot sooner. What about the PPE or PPP? Do you think the PPP was the right program, or do you think it was not the right program? What's your opinion about the PPP? And so so you didn't use the PPP loan for your night job,
No.
You relied on your day job to kind of get you through. So the companies that did, I've heard, some got PPP loans and it actually helped them start back up. Others didn't. But over 40% of
I think the first time around ran out, and then they
right. So over 40% of black-owned businesses closed. Over 20% of small businesses overall have closed in this country. So it
is getting worse. I mean,
right, and it's getting worse.
Right now, I have a handful of businesses that I service that completely shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, they're shut down for good.
And our unemployment's almost 10%. So I guess, in addition to the PPP loan, is there other things that the government could have done to help keep these companies afloat? Or is it just something that we're going to have to deal with? And then if that's something that we deal with and it's long-term unemployment, I mean, obviously, I think the thing that I've learned from you is that, there are those people that kind of sat around and let this thing happen, and there's people like you, and which I really, respect and admire in terms of that American spirit to just go out and figure out how to make it work. So, I think in some ways we depend on that for our society, but there's also, I think, a role for government in this. What's your thoughts about that?
It would be hard for me to judge what the government could have done or could have done better, because I am not in that situation. But I think it is the type of thing where you live and learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we get another virus, because we don't know, we could have another.
Right, it could happen.
COVID-20.
Right now, it could
be like the iPhones,
right,
where
of course.
every year there's a new one.
Right.
So I think that if that happens, government and even individuals will be more prepared for it, and
they know what to expect, know what to anticipate.
They know what to anticipate, what to do. I think it was chaotic at the beginning because we have never experienced in my life.
Right.
But I think the storm will not last forever. I think eventually we will come out of this. We were able to come up on top after many tragedies, 9/11, and we're going to be fine. But I think there's got to be a conscious, public conscious to keep other people safe.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, you want to go out and socialize.
Right.
I mean,
That's the whole point, right?
That's the whole point about going out and meeting people, and whether it's at a bar or at a restaurant.
So I guess what you're saying is we're going to have to figure it out because.
Yeah, it's not going to happen for me for a while.
Yeah, ultimately, we're going to have to deal with this, and we're going to have to figure it out. Perhaps they'll come up with a vaccine, but I'd just like to say thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with me. Again, I admire you. I think you epitomize what it means to be an American because you came to this country, you took full advantage of all the opportunities, and in fact you anticipated and really got in front of the coronavirus. So I've learned something beyond what I was expecting. Is just the true American spirit of the people that we have. So I really appreciate the time, and I love the conversation with you, and I'd love to do it again.
Thank you for inviting me, and yes, of course, we're all hoping for the vaccine. I don't know if I'm going to be the first one to get it. I think I'm going to see what the...
Maybe the second.
Yeah, I think I'm going to see what the side effects of that is. But let's hope for the best, and I think we'll get past this. We'll get through this.
I agree. The coronavirus was devastating for Americans. It killed tens of thousands, of unemployed millions. And today we talked to owners of small businesses and employees. And I learned something, and I hope you learned something too. This is Back to Business, and I'm General Spalding.